Com as caras de safadinha, quem envolver com mais de um. Tumba, 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 tumba. DJ Vitinho tá chamando, novinha vem de bumbum.
Tropa do Bruce, só cara maluco que foge. Tu só joga sujo. Tropa do Bruce, só cara maluco que foge. Tu só joga sujo, vem pra sucesso onde nós te deixa forte. Grava esse dia, pois esse é um dia de sorte. Vem se envolve, vem se envolve. Falta do serviço, deixa que a gente resolve. Vem se envolve mesmo que eu tô com a tropa do Bruce. Só cara maluco que foge. Tu só joga sujo. Tropa do Bruce. Só cara maluco que foge. Tu só joga sujo. Tropa do Bruce.
Aquecimento para toda vida louca, que tem um rabetão. Aquecimento para toda vida louca, que tem um rabetão. Mas é que tu é profissão e vai vendendo sentadão. Mas é que tu é profissão e vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vem com o botão, vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, vem com o botão, vem com o botão, vai vendendo sentadão. Vem com o botão, 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 vem com o botão.
Eu vou chamar as preparadas que dançam na ponta do pé. Vou chamar as preparadas, as que dançam na ponta do pé. Vai, aí, tem que ser brava mesmo, tem que ser brava. Vai assim, ó. Vai com a bunda, com a bunda, com a bunda no calcanhar. Com a bunda, com a bunda, com a bunda no calcanhar. Vai com a bunda, com a bunda, com a bunda no calcanhar. Vai com a bunda, com a bunda, com a bunda no calcanhar. Solta ela, porra. Deixa ela dançar, solta ela, caralho. Deixa ela dançar, vai com a bunda, com a bunda, com a bunda no calcanhar. Papu, 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 papu.
Tocando as más balas.
What's going on, family? Sorry about the delay. We had a little bit of technical difficulties over here on my end, but welcome to the Sunday markup session. I'm your boy, Seven Figure Trader, coming to you guys live here. What we're going to be doing here just on this session, in case this is you guys' first time on the Sunday session, is we will just be looking at the pairs that I usually trade throughout the week. Just looking to see really have anything changed since the previous week. So we're looking for, breaking trend patterns. We're looking for markup of new zones or breaking of previous zones that are now support. And then we're going to look at some news, just really looking to line up what where we may be able to see some momentum come in throughout the week, just based off of news coming in, and then using our technical analysis to then understand what moves are coming, what moves we should be looking out for. Kind of just lining everything else up for us nice going into the week. We have a solid plan for our trading plan. So, right, I want to welcome everyone to the call. If this is your first time, welcome. Right, for my schedules throughout the week, Sunday calls we do weekly markup analysis. On Mondays, I teach my strategy, illustrated strategy. Tomorrow will be intermediate training. My Sunday and Monday sessions are all recorded. They are uploaded to my YouTube channel for you guys to be able to catch at a later time in case you ever miss something. And then Tuesdays through Thursdays, we do the live trading here where we actually come and then put all of these concepts that we do on Sunday and Monday into action throughout the week so then we can actually make some money. Right. So I'm super excited, right? It's Sunday fun day. I've had a great time today with my family. Took my son out to Dave and Buster's, got to connect with some friends that I've known for a lifetime now. I'm in a great mood. We're gonna have a great session this evening. If there's any particular pairs you guys want to look at, right, drop them in the chat. We can come take a look at them. And then I also advise you to probably who is the expert in this pair, right? So I focus primarily on indices and crypto, right? I can use my strategy to mark up any pair, but understanding that each pair also has a cycle and understanding that cycle, right? I would probably going to point you in the direction of which one of my educators here on the Back as Zero platform is going to be an expert in that specific space and area to also understand analysis as well as that market cycle. So like I said, family, we'll go ahead and get started. Feel free to drop anything, any questions that you guys may have in the chat. Let's get into it. Okay, so for BTC, what we're looking at pretty much from last week is that we did break this previous downtrend that we had. This downtrend was good since February 21st. And so we did come up and we broke this downtrend. So what we want to do is first identify what trend are we on. So if this downtrend has broken, is there a larger downtrend that we can identify firstly? And so with that, I mean, you do have, a larger trend, based off of these highs, right? You would be able to consider this right here to be a higher trend. So, right, this would be our pretty much one of our next areas of resistance. But currently, I would say that, we are now moving towards an uptrend. And it's like you have this area right here that really is kind of funky because you have a nice uptrend coming here, and I can just tell from like without putting a line, I can kind of tell just from eyes. You had a nice uptrend, but then you had this breakdown in this area right here that kind of is going to make it a little bit difficult to identify just a clean trend. So because if we come from like here, wrong line. We can come from like here and we're gonna get our three touches, 1, 2, 3. Right. So that would kind of be the new trend that we're on. It's just like I said, it's just kind of ugly. Right, cool. So now we're identifying, okay, BTC is on an uptrend. So understanding that it's on an uptrend, we want to be looking for entries for possible buy areas, right? So we want to make sure that we're marking up from our most previous low to our most previous, excuse me, our most recent low to our most recent high. So this is going to be our low. This is going to be our high for this overall move right here. So I will be looking at BTC coming in for potential buy areas right here. And then these are also good for what we like to call accumulation zones. And so these accumulation zones are going to be areas in which that we may want to purchase. Turn my camera on, sorry. There we go. So these are areas in which that you also may want to go ahead and purchase some Bitcoin, add this to your portfolio, right? So these are, where I scale in on my portfolio, right? Whether you're on Cash App, Coinbase, crypto.com, wherever broker that you're using to trade your fiat for cryptocurrency, this will be a potential pricing area that I would be looking to dollar cost average, right? Add into my portfolio. So what does that mean? Does not mean go and spend your entire paycheck, right, buying Bitcoin at this price. But it's just like saying basically dollar cost averaging is you having a plan of how much you're going to be investing over a certain amount of time on a consistent basis, right? So uh, I dollar cost average into um, stable coins, so like USDT, USDC, right? And then when I have price alerts for different crypto, so then when it comes down into these accumulation zones, I'll swap some of that stable coins for these projects that I'm investing in. So, right, so 82.5 to 81,800 area is what I would say is my accumulation zone, right? And we're looking currently on the daily. So again, right, because we're looking at it off of on a weekly basis of saying, hey, what do we see based off of the weekly? What are we looking at? Not just on the daily or my typical sessions, which are day trades. So just remember that we are looking at a higher time frame, so it could take weeks to months in order to actually come back to this price. But we're just with the current trajectory of where we are, right? The most probable price for Bitcoin to come down to before rejecting is going to be this 82.5, 81,800. So what we would probably be looking like, we have a couple areas of support though that are we're going to hit before coming to there. So all right, so not only do we have this trend line that we just drew up, but we also have this previous area of resistance that we broke through that now would have to serve as support. So we're coming down to the lower time frames. So possibly, right? I do like this generally, just how this looks here. Um, but right, so I will be really looking at Bitcoin coming testing this 85,000, 84,500 area, right, on Monday or Tuesday, most likely. And let's see if we come pull up Forex Factory. Make sure I got the chat turned on for sure. So yeah, so if we come look at some news, USD has a flash manufacturing PMI, so one red folder tomorrow at 9:45. Nothing major on Tuesday. What day is this? March 27th, which would be Thursday. So Monday and Thursday is going to be have the most volatility if I'm just looking at news. Again, there's other things that, unscheduled impacts in the market that can always happen. But if we're just looking at scheduled information that's supposed to be coming out, Monday and Thursday are looking like it's probably going to be the best time for trades this week. So I will be looking, see if Bitcoin does come back down to this area on Monday, and then looking for us to come down, test this area, right? And lined up perfectly with our previous area of resistance as well as with our upwards trend line, right? So I will be looking for us to catch some move type like that for Monday or Thursday. Because the one thing I don't like to do is get caught up in consolidation. So that's the market moving sideways. So right, if the market starts moving sideways, I'll just sit on my hands and I'll wait for the setup. But that's also why I trade different asset classes. So right, when crypto's not moving, usually stocks are moving, and if stocks are moving, usually crypto is moving. So let's move on to Ethereum. And make sure too as well you guys are taking these zones and taking this data and marking it on your own charts as well. So then when you're taking trades throughout the week, you have something to reference yourself for yourself, that may provide you some more comfortability, which will help with your trading psychology. So for ETH, we really just had the uptrend marked up from last week. So not too much has changed in that regards. Again, just looking at our most recent low to our most recent high here, I would be looking for my accumulation zone for ETH. It's going to be right down here, which is going to be at about the 1900 price area for Ethereum. We did come up and we did reject this was a pretty like easy sale, and this we didn't call it out in the chat though, which is why I'm telling you guys to make sure you guys are marking up your charts, because we had a nice on what was this Wednesday, we had a nice come up and it tested this high or this resistance here that we had marked up from last week's session, and came and bounced right off this level and gave us a nice sale. If you would have took this sale, right, you would have caught from 26.8 down to, let's see here, 1936. So you're looking at approximately 700 pips. So approximately, yeah, looking at about 1100 pip move that you could have caught just from having your chart marked up. But this area of resistance did come and hold, right? Nice rejection. So we understand that this area is going to be where, if Ethereum is going to come higher, it has to come here and it has to break. We've only tested this area once. So, right. So the next time we come back, it would be considered a retest on the larger time frame. But for right now, right, we reject it. We're making a lower high. So then, right, coming down, if it continues down here again, looking to come test this downtrend area. And our accumulation zone is below this downtrend. So it would literally have to come break the downtrend, come down lower, and then that's where I would be looking to purchase some ETH. In regards to buys, though, or on the day trading side, it's just not a lot for us to go on in regards for any buys. I would probably still be in favor of sales. We took some sales, I know, throughout the week on ETH. So I would probably still be looking for some entries for sales to come down and test these areas. What's it called? I'm gonna skip over Ripple. If you guys want me to come back to Ripple, Solana, or something else, we can, but I'm gonna skip over them and go to NAS and SPX. Sheesh. Sheesh. Looking at this candle open on NAS. NAS closed on Friday, 19,700, and then opened 2,000 pips above. That's wild. Yeah. So this is a huge gap. Huge gap. So there's going to be some people, right, or a lot of people, there's a strategy. I don't subscribe to it, but it is a strategy, right, in regards to just trading the gap. So it'll be people who come in here and just start selling because they know that most likely, right, it doesn't always happen like this, but most likely NAS will have to come back down at some point, close this gap, for me, show that it has actual support here before continuing. But we did go ahead and break this downtrend, right? And so we will be looking at the next area of resistance and then potentially taking buys to then head it in towards those resistance. So first thing we'll do, mark up our trend line. is going to be the closest thing we have. This one's a little ugly too. Not super fond of this point right here, but that's going to be the closest thing that we have. And then if we're looking for our new downtrend, we can't use any of these because it's going to not work. So we really don't have too much of a downtrend to go off of. That's because we're still really working on a larger time frame, working out this move, came down, tested this 50% area, really bouncing back up there. So we got about a 50% retrace from the all-time high on February 17th, about 50% retrace, came right back down. Now, I don't trade the 50% retraces. There are some people who do. To me, is as the name subscribes, it's about 50-50 accurate in regards to into that. So more than likely, right, what we would be looking at is a buy up to then come back down. The 78,886 zone, that's the highest probability of basically on a retrace. This is going to be your basically final line of support for the trend to continue. After it breaks this area, then it's considered to be in a downtrend. And because we're trading the NASDAQ, basically a break here means pivot or signs of a recession. So this is going to be, I'm going to throw this up here. This is going to be our pivot zone. Here on a larger scale. It's going to be our sell area. We're going to come in and really scale in here. So looking for our, it's going to be about here for our recent high or the move that we're looking at overall. So basically what we'll be seeing here is NAS come up to this area about the 2320 area, reject off of there to then come here. And again, this is based off of, it could take weeks to a month to really see this whole move play out. And it could be something that's not as clean as that. It could be something like this. And it's already kind of ugly, right? So just to be clear, it can look a lot of different ways. It's already really choppy, as we can see over here. So, right, it's choppy on the way up to this area, which is also just another indication of very strong resistance. But again, because we're looking at the daily, if we come down here to the 4 hours, this just to get to here from where we at took us from, what is this, March 10th to March. So this was 20 days, right? Working this up just to kind of again show you guys time frame by what we're looking at. This is a general outlook of the market of what we're looking at over the next week to couple weeks, right? We're going to scale in when we do our live trading sessions where we're going to be looking at, okay, what do we see going on for the next couple hours? But having this stuff in place already on the weekly is going to make sure that we have a roadmap as to when we're trading or how we're trading. We understand exactly where we're not going to get faked out as much because we already know what areas we're looking for price to go to, and we know what kind of reaction that we have a bias for, and then we're just going to wait for price to come and decide what it wants to do. If you're on the demo account, the indices don't show up on the demo accounts. Indices only show up on live accounts. And then make sure you guys, if you're not already trading on DEX, right, make sure that you're trading, excuse me, if you're not already trading on MT, if you're still trading on DEX, to transfer over. Because I know it's at least for the indices, there are no minis on the DEX. If you want to trade the minis, then that's going to be on MT. And what the minis are, it just allows you to come in with a smaller capital, because they have a smaller contract size on the minis. So right, instead of a point zero 0.01 being 10 cents per pip, right, a point zero 0.01 would be a penny per pip. So it allows you to come in with a smaller account and still be able to participate in the market. But that's only going to be available on the Cloud Trader MT accounts, not the Cloud Trader Dex accounts. All good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wanted to make sure for me. I was like, yeah. I was like, that's the only reason I knew it was a demo account because I was like, whenever you're looking for the indices, if you can't find them, more than likely you're just on a demo. All right, here we go. SPX. Yeah, I like that one right there. This is probably like the cleanest trend line we've had tonight. It's nice, right? Look, I get excited about trends. Like for me, like clean trends, just like clean markups. It's just nice, right? It's more like those videos that people be watching on Instagram and stuff like that, where the AMR or they're watching people stock their refrigerator. Like yo, it's a crazy time that we live in. That feel me? That is entertainment. Watching someone stock their refrigerator. I'm not hating though, right? Get to your bag, sis. Let's see. But yeah, I don't like we really broke the downtrend that they had, the larger downtrend that we had here. So SBX, just a cleaner setup or cleaner as far as visualization for buys. So we see this is going to be a high we're working off of. So this high to this low right here. That's the resistance we got to get over. And then also we can take a look at, right, we've come to this area once, twice, right? So we understand this is the third time we're really coming to test this area. So each time, price is going to test these areas, it gets weaker each time, right? So that's just another, thing that we can have in the back of our head in regards to, okay, I know this area or this potential resistance zone is weak. So again, that's going to put me in favor of buys. We have a strong uptrend. We have a weakened resistance area, right? Again, doesn't mean that we're going to break it, right? We can come right back up here and reject as well. But again, having the total outline of understanding of what we're looking at and what's happened here previously so we can make informed decisions. See here, then potential areas of support. This low is still valid. And I would play some music, guys, but right, I gotta throw these videos up on YouTube, and if I play music in the background, then they mute the whole videos for copyright, and then no one has access to it. So I need to find some copyright free music to play during these sessions, during my Sunday and Monday sessions. That's my homework for myself. Yeah. But yeah, if you guys have any pairs you want to look at, right? Because after I finish SPX, I will have some time to answer any questions. Also, mark up any additional pairs you guys may want to look at. So, right, feel free to start dropping those in the chat. Right. And what we kind of talk about this 78886 zone, this being your last line of defense, right? So coming from off the previous high, from Wednesday down to our low from Friday. This is the last line of defense as far as for this move. The circles are ugly. Delete some of these other circles. Right. But just looking at this move right here, this is going to be the last line of defense for this move. After we break above here, right, which we pretty much have almost done off of opening candle, at that point, this is now going to be support for us to come up and continue here. Come on, leave me alone. There we go. Right, it's ugly, but that's what I'm much more. I feel much more good about taking buys on SPX than I do NAS 100 currently, right? But again, still have this other area, this 57.55 to 57.25 area of that's going to be additional resistance. So we still just have to wait, be patient. I don't trade until Tuesdays, right? So I mean Tuesday the move may have already happened by Tuesday. That's why I want you guys to have these markups. So you can do as you guys see fit. Me, I don't trade till Tuesday anyway. So right, the move may have already happened by Tuesday. Circle. So yeah, so I like SPX. SPX is a lot cleaner. Seems to already really have the momentum breaking through some areas of resistance. So I'm interested to see again just how everything looks. Let me see. I seen they just dropped a trade idea. What they drop a trade idea for? Okay. They was it so Thai sale on Nas. I mean on SPX has activated. And like I said, right, the analysis that we just looked at was for weekly. But yeah, like I said, so his sale just activated. What does he have it going down to? TP1 is 5,700. Eh? So he's currently in a sale, coming right back down to like this 50% retrace area. Very, very well can happen. See, let me go check the chats. Okay. They want the XRP. I go to XRP. XRP, she trying to do her thing, right? And it's funny because I can't remember what session it was on last week, but somebody asked me about XRP and I broke down why XRP is important to the crypto space. And then the last week, the CEO came out and almost said verbatim, word for word, what I said on the session. So I just thought that that was hilarious. Mm. Either way it go, XRP really has broken out of this downtrend. And then looking at what kind of uptrend we may have. Ugly. Some ugly joint. It would be something like that. So came down, broke up above, coming back down, pretty much retesting this area. If we come here from most recent low, most recent high, areas of accumulation. So I'll be looking to add some XRP to my portfolio at $2.30 to $2.25. So that would be my accumulation range. And then we're still pretty much working off of this move from this high to this low. We're pretty much still working off that move. Lotteries, like stacked resistance up here, but it is what it is. So yeah, you would need Ripple to break above that 290 price, right? And then that 320 price for it to continue to all-time new highs. But in regards to see here, maybe able to scale it down even a little bit further here. So this is pretty much our zone where it could be consolidating for a while here on XRP in between this, what is this? This 250, 255, and this 230, 225 price range. That's where it's kind of found some stability at. Is right in this little price block, which I mean it's a lot of pips, right? Again, we're looking at the daily, so coming down, there's a lot of opportunities in between here to make some good trades. This would have been our sell entry, 245, traded down to 230. Then we looking to take buys from the 230 area. So this would probably be it, right? Again, if I was traded on Sundays, this would have been our entry for the sale on this last candle. Would have been looking to take TP right around where we have our first area of support. Right. Second would have been right here, and then split the middle. Boom. If it came back, I may call this tonight, right? I like just because it's crypto. Crypto, I'll trade crypto on the weekends. But right, that's what I pretty much would be looking for XRP to kind of do here. Come back up here, 245 area, reject. Feel me, come back down, test 236, test, and then feel me from there, go 230. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for XRP. What's going on? What's going on? So yeah, so look, I don't see anything else in the chat, right? So I'll hang around for a couple more minutes and just to see if there's any other questions. But if not, family, you guys can go ahead and feel free to hop off. All right. Again, let me go back so you guys can get screenshots of kind of everything. And to kind of just recap, right, what I'm looking for this week off of BTC. I'm looking for BTC to continue to drop back down, to come back and test these 85, 84, 500 areas that was previously resistance. Also where we have support or our downtrend, excuse me, our uptrend line. So right, I'm looking for it to come back and test that area. If it does break there, then I'm looking for it to come back down to 82.5, 81, let's just say 82.5, 82 area. That's also my accumulation zone where if it does come down to that price, I will be buying and adding some to my portfolio. Similar things for Ethereum, looking for Ethereum to come down and test this area around 1950. Let's call it 1950 area. And then feel me, if it does break down, looking for it to come back down to 1900 to 1880 area. That's going to be my first accumulation zone. And then my second accumulation zone is going to be 1820 to 1800 to add to my portfolio. That's also the areas where I would be looking for potential reversals for Ethereum to go from a downtrend back into the uptrend. XRP, we kind of just got done talking about XRP. XRP as a whole, I'm bullish on XRP just for portfolio. I would be looking to accumulate some XRP between 225 and 230 price point. Currently, like I said, I do like sales. We rejected this area perfectly. If it comes back to this 245 area and rejects and gives us some nice price action, I'll call it entry for the sale. And again, looking for that to sell down to 230, testing this 235 area, right? Looking for the test 235 area, break down from there. I would be looking for a continuation down to 230, 225. I'll answer that question in 1 second. In regards to for NASDAQ, NAS, we broke that previous downtrend on the opening candle. I personally would still be looking because we did open so high. I do feel like we are going to eventually have to close this gap. Um, but currently, very bullish, looking for it to go to the 2300 area, looking for it to possibly reject there. If we are able to break that 2300 area, then I would be looking for it to go to 21.5, 21.800. Those are the next targets that I would see if we're able to break that 20, 30, 20 area. But there is a lot of resistance there. So that would be potential, points or interest for potential sell setups to come back and test some of the lows. SBX has the cleanest setups. Even though we did open fairly high, we opened right into that area where we previously has filled that area before. So it's not like it jumped in as far as to a area that is previously haven't tested in. So overall for SPX, like I said, I'm bullish. I just like it's very clean, very nice setups. We do have some additional entry from 5725 to the 5755 area. So approximately, what is that, 200 pips. You do have a lot of resistance in there where it may be extremely choppy. But I do see if we're able to flip or kind of close a little bit higher than this 5710 area, right? If we are able to find some support there on the lower time frames, I do see this, using this previous area of resistance, flipping that into support for a possible continuation. But I know, like I said, I know we do have one trade that's out there. Yeah, we do have one trade that's out there currently for a sale on SPX that is currently active. Now, someone asked in the chat, why is XRP important to crypto? XRP is important to crypto because it was the first sacrificial lamb. It was the first crypto to go up against the SEC after they used certain verbiage that then allowed the SEC to come through and say, hey, you're advertising yourself as a security. Crypto has kind of been in this gray zone area in regards to investing. So people don't consider it to be a security or, a asset class. So they say, hey, we're long on XRP. So, they said that verbiage implies that this is a security. You're not representing yourself correctly. But it opened the can of worms for the crypto industry to say, well, how do you define a security? And so there was no accurate description or definition of what they considered to be a security. So that's how they were able to keep crypto out of the space because they're not considering it to be a security. But through this, it does allow for what's called mass adoption. The mass adoption is good for early investors or early adopters because that's when you see a lot of big money, the billionaires, and different frameworks of that nature come into place and start to invest in it, which then allows the cryptos to grow at a much faster pace and hit, higher highs than it previously was with just the retail trader community investing in it. Bad side of that is then you have a lot of manipulation that also is now happening in the crypto space because these big time corporations, countries, and billionaires are accumulating so much of the crypto that they're able to, begin to manipulate it. Um, but that's why it was important. That's why XRP is important, just because it was the first one to go up against the SEC and they actually won their case. So that allowed for a lot of other cryptos to be considered more valid. You have Bitcoin and Ethereum EFTs, which are, basically doesn't make any sense because people go and they put their money into the stock market or these EFTs and they don't actually own any of the asset. So they only get marginal gains, but they also have, marginal risk as well with that. For sure, no problem. I know that was a little long-winded, and there was a lot of information involved in that. But I hope that that did just provide some clarity on why they're important, why people, the technology behind XRP is really cool as well. They're one of the first cryptos that designed itself to work for banks. Basically, it prevents chargebacks. So, when you go out the country on that trip and then you come back and you call your bank and say, "Hey, that wasn't me. I lost my wallet." Basically, they're there to prevent that, which, banks lose a lot of money on chargebacks. So, banks, they're like, "Oh, you created something that will be able to help us, increase our bottom line by limiting our expenses or risk that we're putting out there." So banks, like I said, Bank of France, they already started using XRP. They love it. I'm sure more banks will either adopt that technology or build something very similar to it. But I appreciate you guys, family. We're going to go ahead and wrap it there. We will be back tomorrow for my strategy training, illustrated strategy part 2, intermediate. So if you did miss, let me go ahead and drop it for you guys. If you did miss illustrated training part 1, right, the beginner, I'll go ahead and drop my YouTube page in the chat there. You guys can go check out the YouTube page. It is a recorded session on there. So you're well prepared for tomorrow's session. I will be doing this series each month though. So so the next time I'll be doing a beginner training, I will be 2 weeks from Monday. So 2 weeks from tomorrow will be the next time I'm running the beginner one. So each week it's going to be a different one. Last week was beginner. This week's intermediate. Next week will be advanced. And then for me, it'll be a week off, and then we'll restart after that. So yeah, so drop my YouTube in there. If you guys have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me in the community or via Instagram. I appreciate you guys greatly for hopping on the session. Hope you guys got some value. Hope you guys went ahead and marked up your charts so then you're prepared throughout the week for these moves. Appreciate you guys. You guys bless one.